At UFC 249, the fifth time is hoping to be the charm. It's a lightweight title bout that the world has been waiting literal years to see. The undefeated 28-0 UFC champion Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus the former interim champion Tony El Cucuy Ferguson. As time has gone on and the fight has been cancelled on numerous occasions, it's only built the hype and anticipation higher than ever imagined as both men have continued to extend their winning streaks. In fact, this fight will act as the very first time that two fighters on winning streaks of 10 or more in the UFC will compete against one another. And because of all the many variables surrounding this bout, it means only one thing. I'm Drake Riggs, and here's why the winner of Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson will be the greatest lightweight of all time. In all of the divisions that MMA has, it's pretty simple to determine who the very best has ever been in each of them to this point, except for one, and that's the 155-pound weight class. If we take a look at four of MMA's major promotions throughout the sport's history, we have the UFC, Bellator, Strikeforce, and the WEC. Even when combining all four, the longest string of defenses for a champion is still only as high as 4, and that record belongs to the former Strikeforce king, Gilbert Melendez. Right behind him, tied at 3 title defenses, are the former UFC champions BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar, and Benson Henderson. Of those already mentioned, Henderson is the only fighter to have held titles in 2 of those 4 promotions, those being the WEC and UFC. However, when it comes to GOAT lightweight claims, it's generally Penn who is mentioned the most as number 1. Before we look closer at those in the discussion, let's compare the title defense record of 4 at lightweight to the other divisions' highest. Directly north of 155 pounds at 170, the record belongs to Canada's George St. Pierre, who defended the UFC title 9 times before his first of 2 retirements. Above him at middleweight, Anderson Silva held the overall title defense record for several years with 10 before flyweight kingpin Demetrius Johnson would eventually break it by putting together 11 straight. John Jones' initial title run saw him defend 8 times in a row, but in totality he now has 11. If he never got into the legal troubles and issues with USADA that fell upon him, Jones would presumably currently be on a streak of 14 or so. When it comes to similar divisions with lower streaks around lightweight's record, there is heavyweight and bantamweight, which both sit at 3 and 2 in the UFC. Regardless, their divisions' GOATs have been established pretty clearly for the additional work that they've done in other organizations, thus being the cases with Fedor Emelianenko and Dominic Cruz. Circling back to those in the discussion of lightweight's all-time best, Melendez, despite holding the overall defense record, has only won a single fight out of 7 since he was champion in 2012, ultimately eliminating him from the conversation. And if that's the case, then why isn't Penn eliminated as well? The Hawaiian holds the record for the longest UFC losing streak in the organization's history with 7. The Prodigy is 1-9-1 in his last 11, dating back to when he was champion. Even during Penn's run, he suffered a one-sided defeat to the aforementioned St. Pierre when he attempted to reclaim the welterweight crown. To put Penn versus Melendez up against each other, it's something often not talked about, but in hindsight, Melendez's wins are arguably just as good as Penn's, if not better. Penn's lightweight title run consists of wins over Joe Stevenson to win the title, followed by his defenses against Sean Shirk, Diego Sanchez, and Kenny Florian. For Melendez, he defeated Josh Thompson twice, Shinya Aoki, Tatsuya Kawajiri, and the future BMF champion himself, Jorge Masvidal. Both fighters were incredibly skilled and had phenomenal runs worthy of putting them in this debate. But that brings us to Nurmagomedov and Ferguson. In terms of talent, both the Eagle and El Cucuy are as good as there's ever been at 155 pounds, and the fact that they've dispatched virtually everyone put in front of them in the fashion that they have proves exactly that. As of right now, Nurmagomedov is an unprecedented 28-0 and could very well end his career unbeaten with 30 or more victories. The argument is there right now for him to already be the GOAT lightweight with no losses and utterly dominant wins in each and every time out. 18 of the Russian's 28 wins have ended via finish, 6 of those coming in his 12 UFC bouts. No one has been able to stifle Nurmagomedov's smothering and unmatched sambo style, and as he only continues to improve in each and every area of his game, the challenge of beating him becomes tougher and tougher. While many still question Nurmagomedov's resume despite his incredible record, his strong wins over former champions such as Rafael dos Anjos, Dustin Poirier, and Conor McGregor cannot be denied. Potentially tack on Ferguson to that list, and what more do you need? In the unorthodox Ferguson's case, a win for him would see him as the first and only man to defeat the Dagestani Destroyer. An amazing feat in its own right, it would extend his current streak to 13, and of those 13, they've all been rather notable names, and Ferguson finished 9 of them. In his overall UFC career, he's currently 16-1 with 11 stoppages, an Ultimate Fighter trophy, and an interim crown to his name. There are few, if any, fighters in MMA's history that have been as unique in and out of the cage like Ferguson. He's truly created an awkward and magnetically entertaining style that demands your attention. As surgical as he is inside the octagon, outside of it, his training regimens have become that of legend for their wild and wacky nature. There's a reason that this matchup is so highly acclaimed, and it's because there's just oh so much history at stake. And that concludes our video. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you next time, and feel free to comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.